Now moving on to today's Q&A section, the first question today comes from Kate, and that is with respect to silver and where we see the prices heading next. So if we have a look at silver right now, silver is currently trading just below $18 per ounce. And very similar to gold, you want to be patient on silver. You don't want to get FOMO, which is of course the fear of missing out. You don't want to buy just as it is breaking out to 3-year highs as it did last week. You want to be patient. You want to track not only gold and silver, but the gold to silver ratio as well. And the gold silver ratio started to turn last week, especially on the higher time frames such as the weekly, breaking out to the upside, suggesting that for this week, gold is going to outperform silver, which means that when you see pullbacks here on gold and silver, silver is more likely to have the more significant sell-off. And when we see rallies over the course of this week, gold is more likely to increase from a percentage point of view faster over the course of this week. Where we are with silver right now, this $18 per ounce level, I would look at this zone. We've had over a $1.50 correction for silver prices over the last week. So over a 5% move off the 3-year highs which silver tapped just last week. So I'm looking at buying evidence now around this $18 per ounce level down to the $17.50 per ounce zone, although we are holding at the moment at $18. And if we were to see gold springboard back above $1,500, it's then very likely that silver will be able to also find support at this magnetic level at $18. And on the next breakout higher, which we often do tend to see, especially in the final 2 weeks of September for both gold and silver, I would anticipate that we are going to take out the 3-year highs again. And in fact, silver is going to break out all the way up to $20 per ounce, which again is a very key magnetic level. So watch this week, especially the European Central Bank announcement on Thursday, next Wednesday's FOMC statement on the 18th of September as well. Both of these news items can be big catalysts for some really large moves on both gold and silver, and that can be very lucrative to gain a lot of profit in a very short period of time. So keep an eye out for those two news items with respect to silver. The next question comes from Alex, and this is a question with regard to why the FOMC statements have such a big impact on the prices of the metals. So when we're tracking gold and silver, predominantly most trading platforms, we're trading those against the US dollar index. And the US dollar is impacted hugely by future monetary policy guidance and of course, interest rate cuts as well. The anticipation is, as we go into next Wednesday's FOMC statement, which is the 18th of September, and we essentially have 4 more FOMC statements between now and the end of the year. And we know, of course, that Donald Trump continues to put pressure on the Federal Reserve to cut interest rates. Each time the Fed do cut interest rates, this has a negative pressure on the US dollar, and this causes commodities, especially gold and silver priced in US dollars, to break out to the upside. And this is why whenever you trade gold and silver, you need to also be tracking the US dollar index. As well as that, you do want to track the stock market too. So for example, the S&P 500. When you see these breakouts to the upside on the S&P 500, as we have done so over the last week, this does tend to also put a bit of pressure on the metals too. So you'll see capital flow out of, for example, the precious metals, the safe havens, and it will move into equities. However, when we get those big sell-offs, as we saw during the trade war tensions recently, that's where the S&P 500, for example, has very quick sell-offs and catapults both gold and silver significantly higher. So I would suggest the correlations that you really need to be tracking right now for gold and silver are the US dollar. So if the US dollar is going up, it will put pressure on gold and silver. If the US dollar is selling off, you'll tend to find that be quite supportive for both gold and silver prices. Normally the month of September as well is a negative month for the US dollar index, particularly in the year before US elections. And that continues right the way through to the month of October, where of course we have another FOMC statement as well. So we want to see not only whether the Federal Reserve will cut interest next week, but of course we also want to see what the future monetary policy guidance will be as well, and whether the Federal Reserve have more of a dovish tone or a hawkish tone, which of course will impact the dollar and also gold and silver. So with that, thanks again for all of your questions, and we'll catch you back here next week for gold and silver asset of the day.